I want to share with your audience, another very personal aspect of my life, and I want to do it because I think can be helpful out there. Because I landed in Canada in November 2020, and since November 2020, I have read about some first responders suicide, I think at least 2-3 times. So I want to share with you my experience because when I was a police detective and when I went through that bad sentimental experience in my life, one day it was was March 2015. I was lacing my, I was sorry,
No, it's okay.
closing closing the shoelace on my shoes, and I decided to do something that fortunately I didn't. So I was jumping out of my balcony because for me what I was feeling was too much to handle. And I remember the day very very well. And I stopped just when I was jumping out of my balcony. And I stopped, and it was a moment of full awareness. At that moment, and I had that moment thanks to my meditation practice. Without my meditation practice, I don't think I would stay here to talk with you.
Yeah. And when you jumped
So
out, like, so you jumped out of the balcony and like you actually,
I was jumping out of my balcony and decided to to suicide myself, no?
yeah.
But I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I stopped just before jumping. And I remember that day I closed my balcony and I went to the police department. It was the worst day of my life for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
I did my job the day. I remember that I came back home early, sure, because I had a lot inside myself. But I went through the process. I went through the process, and I was able to took the right decision just because my meditation practice. Because I became aware of what I was doing, so I decided not to react, but to step back a little bit from my feeling, my pain, my disillusion, and I decided, Sasy, this is not the right thing. So I closed the windows of my balcony and I went to work. So that's why I underlined many times during our talk, our pleasurable talk, that
Yeah.
gathering your mind is the first that we need to do.
Oh yeah. And like you said, like there wasn't the resources that got you the help that you needed, so you needed to do your own rehabilitation to really fight through this, right? When you were at that balcony and you stopped and you said, "Oh my God, what am I doing with my life?" And
Exactly.
then you go and you get that help. It's good. It's transitional and it's healthy that you went and you said, "Hey, you know what? This is what's going on and I need to take the time for me." And you did it, right?
And I
And it
did. Yeah,
yeah, you
I
did it,
did.
man. And it's cool and I'm glad that we can sit here today and we can actually talk about
Talk about
everything and be real. Like, you know what I mean? Like I appreciate you for even sharing that story. You know what I mean? It's very personal and I do appreciate that. And it's very heartwarming to know that your story is going to help people understand that they're not the only ones. You're really helping them, and I really do thank you for that.
thank you, Ryan. Thank you,
Mhm.
thank you.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Life Boost here. My name is Ryan, and I would like to thank you all for listening to my podcast here. You can follow and subscribe to my channel at any time. All my information is below in the description here. Today, I'm speaking with a former Italian police detective with 20 years of service in the field of crime and narcotics. He served his community and served those around him for many years. He left in the year of 2016 and pursued his dreams in helping individuals deal with their mental, physical, and spiritual health through yoga. He is an experienced yoga teacher and yoga continuing education provider with more than 16 years of yoga and meditation experience. He has traveled around the world to learn about yin yoga and the philosophy behind it. He has taught at many studios in northern Italy, Spain, India, and Los Angeles, and even throughout Canada. He is the author of 4 books, and they are all available to purchase on Amazon, and his website will be in the description below. He is the creator and author of The Key to Happiness and Yin Yoga. Just recently, in November of 2020, he has released a book called First Responders Yoga, also known as F.R.Y, with Julia Long, and became the co-founder for F.R.Y First Responders Yoga together with Julia Long. The book is a toolbox on how first responders can focus on their body, mind, and soul. It's a dedicated program tailored for first responders. Today, he is continuing to preach his passion within rehabilitation for first responders. He is making an impact within the world we live in today. It is a pleasure to be speaking with the man himself, Sasy Cacace. How are you doing, man?
Thank you, Ryan, for taking time to share a little bit of your time with me. I'm okay. I'm very excited to be here and try to do my best and share my vision together with your vision, which I like. So to make to give to self-responders the tools that they need to be healthier from the mind and body point of view, and giving back to those who serve.
That's exactly what we're heading at today, and it's going to be a really special time getting the privilege to even speak with you, right? And we're going to dive deep. We're going to go into your past, and we're going to figure out what came out of everything, right? So what got you out of the world of law enforcement? What made you want to transition to the role that you're in today?
Oh, I served my Italian government for 20 years in the field of narcotics and crime. And I faced up many challenges during my career. Most of them had some common roots. The first one was me not to be prepared to see and do what I was seeing and what I was doing. And the second one was a strong lacking of support in that law enforcement environment. Support that I think should have come from my direct superiors, from my colleagues, and maybe also for some specific therapists, some specific help that must be available in that environment. But when you train to be a first responder, when they train you to be prepared, to be strong, you need to show your muscles, and you need to be prepared every day in every circumstance. But we are human, Ryan. We are not a fighter jet that can fly in all weather.
So right.
We are human, and we need to stop. When we need to stop, it's better to do it. And when we need support, it's better to ask for it, and it's better to have it. And it requires a very open heart and lots of courage to admit that you are not prepared to perform some task, or that you are not ready to do it. It requires a lot of courage to talk to someone with your superior and is going to judge you anyway, because to judge you is one of his tasks. And say to him, I need support, I need to rest, I cannot do it by myself, or I'm not prepared, and I do not want to do any mistakes within my job. All that creates lots of stress in all the operators, no matter if you are a police officer, a firefighter, a paramedic, no matter. All that situation has lots of stress in the operators. And what I'm trying to do with F.R.Y is to give to all first responders tools that are tested, to give to them, and not only to first responders, body, mind, health. And I'm talking about meditation. I'm talking about a functional approach to yoga that takes into account your singular skeletal variation. I'm talking about relaxation and all the tools that are coming from the neuroscience discoveries that will allow you to envision the life that you really wish to live. So I'm talking about yoga nidra, visualization, and positive affirmation. And all these are segments of F.R.Y the method that is tailored specific for first responders by first responders. And what I think is that can be very difficult to change the environment about ourselves. But we can surely change the way we react to the external stimuli. So, and to tools that I'm talking about can really give to you the opportunity to create a space between yourself and what you do, between yourself and what you think, between yourself and what you see, in order to not identify yourself with your badge and your gun or whatever is the label that you put on yourself when you go to work, firefighter, paramedic, the nurse, the doctor, and so on. And this is very important to understand. It's important to understand how our mind works, so we can find a way out from our stress, our anxiety that is typical in that kind of environment. And this topic is very important to me. It is well described in my first book. It is called The Key to Happiness. And it's easy to understand that the only way out of our struggling, our pain, our stress is go within. The only way out is the way in. And this is very important to understand. It's important to look inside our mind and start a deep quest. And it is not enough to train our mind just to do some daily tasks, like do some math to understand philosophy. That is good, but we do need to look inside our mind and see and learn to see our mind stuff, our life happening, our feeling, our relationship through a direct experience. Because if you don't do that, you keep giving the strength to, let's say, that cycle of thinking and rethinking that can be based on all the past subconsciousness patterns and habits that can be very harmful. And it is very interesting because they say that by the age of 35, the 95% of what you do, or what you think, the way you speak, is run by all the subconsciousness patterns and habits. That percentage is dramatic. It means that we are aware only for 5% while we live in our life, while we perform any kind of task. It's dramatic. The good thing is that we can reverse those percentage. In which way? By developing mindfulness, by making our awareness stronger and stronger, by fulfill our mind with positive affirmation, with positive thoughts. And one of the main tools we have to do this is meditation, is introspection. Why this? Because we need to lower down our mind waves. That cannot happen when we challenge ourselves with strength training or challenge activities. We need to sit and lower everything down. There is this beautiful Zen quote, if you allow me to use it, that say, in your life, you need to tend the garden and sit. Tending the garden refers to taking care of all the tasks that you have in your life, your job, family, and so on, taking care of your children, whatever. Sit instead means quieting your mind, recharge yourself, replenish yourself in order to perform better in your life later on. So by developing awareness, we start letting go all the things that are bringing us down, things that can be harmful on one-to-one relationship level, but also on a community level. Because we are individual, yes, for sure, but our individual mind is part of our collective mind. An awakened collective mind requires an overall awakened single mind. We are all part of the same chain. And this chain that you can call society, community, whatever you want to call it, is as strong as its weakest link. So we all contribute to the strongness of the chain. This is what I strongly believe in.
But you're definitely spot on, where it always starts off within yourself, and you have to love yourself, and you have to accept the mistakes within yourself. And if you don't do those certain things over time, it can really affect your health. And I did find that studies are showing that people are committing more suicides and hurting themselves more than COVID itself, than anywhere else across the world. And it's caused so much issues within our society and for first responders, and they're on the front lines every day, and they're the ones risking their life. And yes, they are human. They can't be a robot. They gotta be a human to a certain degree. And I speak to guys like Jason Colehart, that's been a police officer, and I've spoken to a lot of different people in the field, and they do suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder because of the fact that they're not getting the help they need. So my thing is it's been so stigmatized within our work, within law enforcement or within emergency services. It's been very stigmatized to get help. What would you do to recommend someone if they wanted to add yoga in their lifestyle or add your methods? How would someone within first responders be able to add their lifestyle with your book?
Uh, this is, the path of yoga, the path of the introspection, the path of developing awareness and mindfulness, as I was telling you before. It's an easy path, but it's not easy to approach at the first time, especially for the people that are first responders. Because why this? Because they live the lives always on the go, jumping from one task to another. And they have a long to-do list to fulfill. That to stay seated for some minutes and watching your mind, do some breath work maybe, or some gentle yoga pose, cannot be an easy task for them. I went through it, and I know what that feeling is. So my suggestion is try to have a schedule, try to have a strong schedule, because the mind must be trained just as our body needs to be trained. In order to do this, you have to follow a schedule. So maybe wake up in the morning, maybe 20 minutes before the normal time, dedicate a little bit time to your body with some movement, a little bit time to meditate, maybe some breath work. That can be a good start. And I noticed with myself, when I don't do my personal practice in the morning, the day change it completely. What I mean, the taste of what I do is different. There is more agitation. I feel that I cannot accomplish what I'm doing. So instead, when I dedicate the time in the very first morning to myself, and I'm not talking about 2-3 hours of practice. I'm talking about maybe 20 minutes, half an hour of practice, where you can be really focused on yourself. When your mat becomes your space, when your time is just made out of your breath, that is a really game changer. That is really a good supplement that can give you the right boost for what you have to accomplish during the day. So my suggestion is just start. You don't need to get rid of something to start the path of introspection. You just need to add a little bit of yoga, a little bit of meditation, and then slowly, what happens, a magic happens, that you can understand what you really don't need in your life. So as you start cleaning, decluttering your mind and your life from what is not necessary for your health. This is something that naturally happens. So my suggestion is don't think that you need to get rid of something, but simply add yoga in your life. And when I talk about yoga, Ryan, I'm not talking about crazy pose, jumping back, jumping through, headstand, all this kind of crazy stuff that we see on YouTube. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the path of introspection. I'm talking about the path of be aware of your mind movement, to be aware of where you are at in that specific moment of your life. This is the real practice of yoga, because touching your feet with your hands cannot change anything in your life. You can be more flexible, that's the good things, but it's going to change something in your life? No. But developing instead awareness, developing mindfulness, learning to create a space between you see, you do, your feeling, your thoughts, and yourself, becoming the knower of all that, that is a game changer, because that gives you the opportunity not to react to the happening in your life, but to act maybe positively to those events. So this is my strongest suggestion. And if I can share with you something very personal, because you were asking why I left the law enforcement, no, what's the reason? Am I sharing with you a very delicate part of my life, no? And I will do with you, with your audience, with my full open heart, because I left the law enforcement as my previous love relationship ended in a very dramatic way. But more dramatic was the way I was reacting to it. I didn't accept it. I didn't accept my weakness in facing that situation. So I decided to change everything in my life. And I started traveling and try to quench my spiritual thirst. The thirst to become better by doing by going deep into my yoga practice, by serving in different ashrams. And I've served in India many times at Shivananda Ashram, Bahamas. I've taught in yoga in different cities all around the world, as you were saying, Los Angeles, in south of India, in Mysore, in Nepal, Pokhara, in Fuerteventura, a Spanish island in front of Morocco, and for sure in different yoga studios in Italy, because I'm Italian, and now I'm based in Ottawa. So I do not know if I changed for the better, really. But I changed because everything was too much at that moment in my life. And this is what I want to share, because what I've learned is that to be better, it is not necessary to change your job, to change your partner, to change your car, to buy a bigger house. Those can be different routes of suffering instead, because those are, let's say, external elements that are masked by happiness. But that feeling of happiness is really fleeting. It's not stable at all. And I want to underline this, because as I said before, the only way out for the pain and the stress in our life is the way in. The only stable joy that we can obtain is the one that is available within us. The joy cannot be available by any material possession. So this is my feeling, this is my deep conviction, and this is what I strongly suggest to people that are changing, that are thinking maybe to change a job to find happiness. That is not the right way.
No, but even like sharing your story as to how you transitioned out of law enforcement, thank you for even sharing that. And thank you for sharing your story and showing people to accept to go back within your past and repair it the right way, and to learn how to love yourself and to take care of yourself and realize that yes, there is a mistake, there is a problem, and accepting the fact that there is. And you did what you needed to do to transition to what you were passionate and what you loved, and it's so beautiful to see the transition from, you know, going back into leaving law enforcement in 2016, right? Like, you know what I mean? It's crazy that you've transitioned so much within that time, right? You've wrote books, you've gotten so much into your love and your grind, and I love it. It's so beautiful. And and I wish that a lot of people within Canada have the same feeling as you. Have the same feeling of love, passion, being in your field, and really owning your element, right? And it's really amazing to see that coming from you. And it's great to know that you did the right things for yourself to get help. What are some other alternative methods that you would suggest to people to get help? What were some other ways that you got help throughout your guidance and your journey? Like, what was a way for you to get help?
Yeah, to take care of your mind, I think, is the main task. There is this Buddhist monk that belongs to Thich Nhat Hanh tradition. Thich Nhat Hanh is a beautiful Zen master. And his monk is called Brother Pap Lu.
That's awesome.
Very interesting. Yeah. And we say that our mind is like a garden. In a garden, you can find not only flowers, good veggies, and good fruit, but in the garden also grow up some weeds. And if you want your garden neat, with more beautiful flowers, with more flavored food, you need to care. You need to take out of those of your garden those weeds, because those weeds take nutrients away from your garden, so you can have a better and healthy garden with more flowers and more. This is very deep meaning. This what Brother Pablo say, because we need to become a good gardener of our mind. And we must decide which seed to plant in our mind. And we are now coming close to the importance of positive thoughts that can affect your mind and so your body, as the relationship between the mind and body is very strong. That is the reason why when I create F.R.Y method together with Julia Long, that is another co-founder of F.R.Y, we included in our method the positive affirmation according to the neuroscience discovery. There is an interesting study that was performed, if I can remember well, in the late 16. In this study, some researchers split the same stem cells coming from one parent, so genetically identical, in different petri dish. Petri dish are the small round dishes that researchers use for testing growing bacteria and stuff like that, okay? So all those different petri dish were fulfilled with different culture medium. That is the substance, the environment, let's say, of the cells that contain nutrients in which the cell live and can grow. What happened, and this is very interesting, is that the cell formed bone, muscle, or fat according to the specific environment they were soaked in. So the research proved us that the fate of the cells, the bone, the fat, whatever, wasn't based on genetics, because they all had the same genes, but it was based on the environment. Now, our body is made out of more than 50 trillion cells, okay, that are living entity, really. Human being is a kind of skin-covered petri dish, okay? And for the cell, it doesn't make any difference if the petri dish is a plastic dish or is a skin dish. The fate of the cell, as the study showed us, is not controlled by the gene, but it's controlled by the culture medium. And the culture medium in our body is in our blood. This is very important. In our body is our brain that determines what is the composition of our body. And that decision is based on the perception of our mind. So if my perception is love around me, friendliness around me, the brain releases chemistry related to that feeling, related to that love. And what are these chemistry? These chemicals are, for example, dopamine, the I accomplished something hormone, it is called, that plays a role in how you feel pressure. Oxytocin, that knows, people also know it as a cuddle hormone or the love hormone, no? Because it is people snuggle up or bond to the other, okay? Vasopressin, another chemical which created the desire to bond with your partners. And all those hormones, all those chemicals are the causes of your health. So when the mind perceives positiveness, the chemistry released from your brain is chemical that enhance your health and vitality. That chemistry is the same qualities of its activation. That's why to fill your mind with positive thought, with positive vision is so important. Because unfortunately, all that I'm saying is true also for the opposite side, the negative side. So if your perception is fear, if your perception is stress around you, if your mind perceives threat, you start releasing stress hormones and inflammatory agents in your body. that can really affect your immune system on a long term. So those stress hormones are, for example, adrenaline, that increases your heart rate, elevate your blood pressure, cortisol, that is the primary stress hormones that we release in our body when we are in the fight and flight and stress response. It increases the sugar in our bloodstream. Those hormones are so effective at shutting down the immune system that you have to think the doctor uses those stress hormones therapeutically to transplant a foreign organ to a recipient. The recipient is given stress hormones before transplanting the organ because the stress hormones shut down the immune system and allows the organ to take hold before the immune system activates. Now, nowadays, what happened is that the average person is living in a sympathetic nervous system dominance. That means that he's living in a stress mode 24/7, inhibiting the immune system every day, while the normal dominance should be regulated by the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest system. That's why it's so important to plant epitopes in our mind, to allow our body to release good chemicals related to those positive hormones, like dopamine, as I was saying, oxytocin, vasopressin, that are good hormones for our health. As I was saying, repeating the quote of the beautiful Zen monk, we need to garden our mind. So fill our mind with positive thoughts, and gardening also the weeds, the negative thoughts that can be planted in our mind. So taking care of our mind is the first tool, absolutely.
So beautiful, right? And it's good to know that you're explaining about the sympathetic nervous system and how basically we go into the parasympathetic system and where our bodies crash into PNS backlash. And when we go into that backlash where people have been through so much SNS, which is sympathetic nervous system, which is people that are exerting so much energy from the environment around them through an altercation like fight or flight status, right? Something in along the lines of that, right? And with the stress that's being involved with that, it's good to know that it's important to handle that, and it's good to know that there's certain ways on how to de-escalate that, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because what happens when we shift from the parasympathetic nervous system to the sympathetic nervous system, because we are in the presence of some threat, for example, or what we think is a threat, because mind doesn't differentiate between a real event and just an imagination. Okay, what happened? It is called the HPA axis. That is hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenal glands, release a cascade of hormones that are stress hormones related chemicals that can create damage in our body if on a long term. Okay, we need those hormones in presence of a real threat because we need to run, our focus needs to be strong. We lost, for example, the memory, the long-term memory when we are in a fight and flight or stress response, because we don't need to remember what we had yesterday. We just need to find a quick way out. Okay, so those hormones are need to be clean in our body. In which way? We have a basic tools that is always available for us, anytime, anywhere, and it is our breathing. Our breathing has the ability to shift the sympathetic nervous system to a parasympathetic nervous system one. In which way? By simply having your exhalation longer than your inhalation, you can simply create this shift in your nervous system. And it's very easy to do. You don't need a yoga mat. You don't need a yoga studio. You don't need a pillow. You don't need to spend lots of money, go to a beautiful venue for a retreat, go to the lake or the mountain.
Yeah, don't need to go sit back and stuff, you know.
You just need to stay fit and close your eyes. And you can do it in your car if you are a composer. You can do it in the firefighter department when you are waiting for your call. You can do in the ambulance when you are waiting for your call. You just need to sit, close your eyes, stay still, and be focused on your breathing, and maybe have your exhalation double longer than your inhalation. This is a very easy tool that we can apply whenever you need, and no matter what we are. So this is a very simple tool that I strongly suggest to people to test, especially for people that suffer for anxiety, that suffer for stress, suffer for PTSD. This can be a really game changer for their life. And then for sure, there are some other techniques that we can use, and most of them are described in our F.R.Y First Responders Yoga, the book that is available on Amazon. There is also a beautiful chart at the end where you can choose the technique according to your issue. For example, say you suffer for anxiety, you can find indication about what pranayama you can do, but pranayama is breath work, which asana you can perform, which meditation you should follow. So it can be very helpful. It took a lot of time for me and Julia to prepare the book. That is this one.
Yeah, it's really amazing, and I want to try to spread your book, and I want to try to spread the awareness out there that this book is going to save lives. This book is going to help people learn how to handle their stress on the day-to-day job and within their day-to-day lifestyle, right? This is an alternative health method that I would really recommend to first responders. This is something that I would really preach to really educate people and say, hey, there's a reason why you're feeling this way, and there's ways that we can do to help. And it's so beautiful that you're here to explain that to me today. It's so beautiful that you're here to even share the time to explain the science and the love and the passion that you have for this. And I couldn't thank you more, man. This has been a pleasure, and it's been an awesome time talking with you. And you have been an inspiration for myself, too. I've been really wanting to talk to you for a very long time. And you provide really great content, and I really want the world to know that Sasy Cacace is changing the world, and you are saving lives, and thank you so much for doing that, right? And I couldn't thank you more, man. And I thank you so much for coming onto my podcast. Like, I greatly appreciate you, and I appreciate what you do within the world we live in today.
Thank you for what you are saying. You are very kind. I'm a simple man, and I'm trying to share my experience, what I learned in 20 years of service in the law enforcement, facing up crazy stuff you can imagine, in my more than 60 years of yoga, Buddhist study, and so on. And I think, Ryan, if you allow me to say something more, that
oh no, go ahead, man.
we need to share this because we have tools available for us to be happy. Because we just need to start. We need to start. We need to share our experience. We need to do whatever we can do to spread the word, as you are doing with your podcast, as I try to do with my 3 books, sharing my experience, sharing the tools that we have to become better. And talking about first responders, I also, when I met Julia at the Shivananda ashram in Bahamas, I was doing my 3 months of service there. She was studying for her advanced Shivananda teacher training. We start talking a little bit about our vision to first responders, as she has 3 sons, and 2 of them are first responders. One is an RCMP constable, and another one is a paramedic. So we start talking a little bit about our vision, and then we dive deep into it. And we have done interviews, and we have read lots of studies that show us that all first responders experience 5 times greater physical injury, sleep disorder due to the shift work, anxiety and inability to relax and let go. At 30% develop conditions such as depression and PTSD, as you were saying. And there are three key complaints I had for first responders, and I experienced as a first responder too. No time for self-care. Timing of public classes do not fit their erratic shift, and no one source for relaxation, meditation, functional movement, and mind quieting techniques, so specific to their needs. And we all want first responders when we need it. No, absolutely. We want first responders that are calm, that are still, the mind works well, and they don't react to emotion. F.R.Y is really a toolbox for mind-body wellness that combines breath work, that combines functional yoga movements, that combines meditation, positive affirmation techniques, trauma-informed yoga, all that is designed for first responders by first responders, tailored to their needs. And with upcoming Friday app, all those tools are available anytime, anywhere when needed, at the push of a button, because all first responders have phones, right? So that was our vision. The app will be released by the middle of August. It will be available for iPhone and all the Samsung/Google cell phone. So we just need to wait a little bit more, and all the extra help for first responder will be available there.
That's amazing, incredible.
Yeah, lots of work, but we did it with love and compassion, and putting all our energy in this project we strongly believe in. The website is almost done. Will be ready, I think, next week, with all the different pages that you can dive in and know more about me, about Julia. And so we are happy to share our vision, and we really hope to give back to those who serve, as I told you at the very beginning.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sasy Cacace, and I appreciate so much that you've brought to the table, and I appreciate the love and the spread towards F.R.Y. And I think F.R.Y is going to go insane. I think it's going to go big, and I can't wait for it to explode. It's going to be insane. It's going to be awesome.
Thank you again, Ryan. Have a good one.
You too. Thank you.